hello. Do you like jump scares? Do you like stuff like this? Okay, maybe I got some of you there, but it was probably really funny, so don't sweat it. I wanted to talk about games, not just any game, okay? The stuff that I think's actually scary is none of that namby-pamby fucking poppy playtime, look like you're in a playground type of horror game. That genre of horror has existed since like 2018, and it has not stopped since. I'm not talking good shit, I'm talking great shit, okay? I've been talking too long, okay? Let's just get into what I found really spooky. Okay, let's just get these Outlast ones out of the way because I feel like everyone and their grandma has talked about it, but I do think that it is a really good franchise with a lot of scary moments. Outlast 1, there's a lot of chase scenes, and there's a whole lot of fucking backstory to this entire asylum that you're taking place in. Bunch of documents to collect from the staff, and there's also a lot of jump scares. It focuses heavy on environment too. Gore is a very big part of it. It's one of those games though, where after you find out what to do in the game, you can replay it and feel a little less scared each time, but the thrill is still there, definitely. Especially in the early 2010s era of YouTube, many YouTubers were just milking this game for reactions because of the scares in it. Okay guys, let's go through this library real quick. Oh great heavens, this is a very scary game. Guys, like and subscribe. But in all seriousness, I think that all of the Outlast games, yes, even Outlast Trials is good. I think they were all equally unforgiving, brutal, and just downright malicious. This game is very unforgiving and pulls no punches when you're playing it. It'll show you the aftermath of a murder, no problem. Everything, like I said, is scripted, so you might get desensitized to it on your second or third time replaying it if you want to get some achievements. 15 million plus copies have been sold as of the time of writing this, and I think that it's a very good game with a journalist who gets shit thrown in his face super quick. I think the second game does the same thing. It wasn't as well received, but I think Outlast 1 is still better. Still a solid game though, the whole community agrees on that. Outlast Trials loses all of its scariness when you start playing with friends. At that point, you're just laughing at your friend getting his shit kicked in. Don't listen to people hating it simply because the updates aren't every single couple days or week and that it's just not Outlast 3 in general. Try it, it's co-op, you'll have fun with friends, I promise. They also have a roadmap planned and they're having big updates coming this year, so stay tuned for that. Alright, listen, buddy. I would say Subnautica is actually like one of the scariest games I've ever played. I know, a very bold statement considering like I'm a huge fan of the Outlast franchise and I really do think that shit was scary and like first time around like heart-stopping scary, but this shit takes it to a different level. I already don't like the feeling of looking down in an ocean and seeing a black abyss, not knowing what the hell lurks down there. And Subnautica just makes that fear a reality by just making a whole bunch of scary looking fish that just want to attack you and murder you. I mean, like, I literally haven't even made it past like the red grass area in that game because I'm just so scared of what lurks beyond it. I also am a really big fan of fuck my life. I'm also a really big fan of sound design in video games, and I think Subnautica is really good at making sounds very fucking scary. Like, just listen to a couple of these ambient noises and roars and just monster noises in general. Tell me you wouldn't be a little freaked out if you were in a huge ocean and you just heard something like these. Oh my god, Spec Ops The Line. Now, this is gonna seem like a weird curveball because if you played Spec Ops The Line, you might be like, this isn't entirely a horror game. It's very story rich, but the horror comes in a different form than what you might think. The premise is that you're just a trio of soldiers. You go to Dubai to get some tasks done, stop some terrorists, that sort of thing, right? Sounds like a pretty basic plot to a COD game, right? So not really. The main character you play as, the protagonist, his last name's Walker, we'll just call him Walker. He's the leader of this trio, and he gets people into some serious shit real fast. There's going to be heavy spoilers for this game because the plot is really what makes it a terrifying experience. It has been delisted off of Steam. They claim it's due to expired licenses, but honestly, I feel like some part of it was also due to the fact that it is a pretty gruesome and violently truthful game about the horrors of war. But that's just speculation on my part. So what ends up happening is that your main character that you play as, Walker, turns out to be the actual villain in the story. It is a game that has many war crimes going on within it. There's multiple endings to the game, none of them are good. He's filled with guilt throughout the whole entire thing, and yet he never takes any responsibility for what he's done. He blames it all on the terrorists, he blames it all on one dude he talks to over a walkie-talkie. He begins to hallucinate after his squad members die, and it turns out that the villain all along at the end never existed in the first place. Well, he did, he just killed himself a long time ago. I'm sure if you've never played the game, you're very familiar with the white phosphorus cutscene in this game. Basically, what ends up happening is he uses white phosphorus, you know, a very safe chemical, and he does something to a village, and those guys are no longer alive. But what ends up happening is that there were a lot of civilians within the compound, and a lot of them were also children and mothers and just innocent people. The music and the voice acting really sells the scene, and I think that they did an excellent job with the voice acting throughout the entire game. The emotion in the characters' voices really sells you the fact that what Walker did was unexcusable, and they were clearly in the right to feel the way they did about Walker's actions. There's obviously much more that goes into this. Some people theorize the entire Dubai trip was a hallucination on Walker's part. I'm not going to get into every nitty-gritty detail about this game, but it is a very crazy experience. Here is a quick clip of the aftermath of the white phosphorus scene and his reaction to hurting and destroying innocent lives.
Yeah, it is. That's why Gould stormed this place. He didn't want the gig.
He was trying to rescue his people. This is your fault, goddammit! Stop right there, Hugo. But it is! He wouldn't listen! We didn't have a choice! He turned us into fucking killers! That's enough, Sergeant! No! No! I'm telling you so! No!
We need to keep moving. What?
It is a very realistic and scary depiction about soldiers who would repress memories and have it bite them in the ass many years later. It's a really big commentary on war as a whole and just mental health in general. I think the real horror comes from those who have these sorts of emotions after coming back from battles and not dealing with them properly. It is also a terrifying concept knowing that soldiers hurt their own kind without knowing or knowingly. And sometimes they just get a slap on the wrist or it's never found out. Things are brushed under the rug and people go on about their day. Some soldiers may not even be physically, emotionally, or mentally affected by the horrors that they've committed in the war. It is a pretty monstrous thing to think about, and this is kind of what goes through Walker's mind during the game. You will soon find out while you're playing as this character that there are very little choices you can do as a player. You watch your actions come to bite you in the ass later, and you can't help but just watch and run away from your problems. The game's choices that you can commit really ramp up near the end. You're able to take your own life or continue on with your delusion. The ending consists of you calling in a rescue, just by yourself, waiting for the squad cars to come pick you up. You have different choices within the game, and some of which I didn't even realize you could do. First off, I accidentally shot my pistol in the cutscene, and I immediately got shot down by the officers. Alternatively, you can mow down all of those people who came to pick you up in their squad cars and just live on with the delusion that what you were doing was a good thing and that you were actually the hero all along. The final cutscene is simply walking with them to the squad car and getting out of the city of Dubai, but I mean, really, were you actually saved in the end? As far as I'm concerned, there's only three true endings, but the fourth one is you taking your own life after finding out that the villain all along had killed himself a long time ago. This game shows you things that are completely out of your control in the world because you can't even control yourself in the end. It's a very psychological and powerful game with a very powerful message, and I highly recommend this game. So this one's kind of interesting because I feel like not a lot of people have heard about this game or they've seen the announcement trailer when it did drop and just didn't care enough. It's a roguelike game, so you repeat the game over and over again on loop. Play as a woman named Seline who has gone through some hefty shit in her lifetime, and this game kind of is just an entire symbolism for that. Horror is a theme in this game, and the story is fragmented just enough for the fans and the community to piece together their own versions of the story. There are environmental clues that that hint towards something in her personal life going awry or hinting towards an event in her life. There are many logs that you can find that explain lore in detail. There are many cutscenes, some of which the cutscenes are first person and you go inside a house that you used to live in as a child. To be honest, those cutscenes were really creepy to me. People could tell you what the actual truth of the story is, but many people can debate on it till the cows come home. So I'm just going to give you a few different theories on what's going on. She lands on a planet called Atropos, and she's stuck in a time loop where every time she dies, she shows up in the shuttle again. Many people say that this ties to the saying history is doomed to repeat itself. Some people think this entire game is in Celine's head because the concept was that she crash landed while being an astronaut for a company. The reason why that's in her head, though, is because she was mentally unequipped, however, to actually get accepted for the position. Not to mention she had a lot of trauma in her family life. Her mother was very abusive. There were two crashes, however, which kind of goes into the history repeats itself sort of thing. There were two car crashes. One was with the mother, who became paralyzed and started to hate her even more for it. The second one was Seline and her son. She drove off a bridge and was able to save herself, but not her kid. There are a small handful of acts in this game, each one consisting of coming to terms with her repressed memories and emotions. Many people think that this planet Atropos is some sort of metaphor for purgatory. The story is quite frankly all over the place and is very scattered, and there's a lot of pieces to pick up and put together. There's also many cutscenes where she's in hospitals giving flowers to adore. She also sees strange visions of an astronaut that she can't see the face of floating. I think this ties well in with Spec Ops The Line in terms of repressed feelings and trying to run away from your problems when the best course of action is to deal with them. Although there are many theories on what could have been in the game, there are many facts which we know. There was a lot of hurt going on around Celine's family. People she cared about died. Some people simply can't believe she was able to be an astronaut when there are so many logs of her mental health on a very steep decline. Not to mention her mental health was already bad when apparently she already got the position. I think the overarching message of this game, however, is guilt, depression, and just childhood trauma in general and how it can affect somebody years later. It's also a very good commentary and message on how running from your problems will catch up to you in the end. You might enjoy the genre of this title if you're into cosmic horror, though. There are one or two very big video essays on this game and its lore, and it does a million times better job than I could at explaining the story and the hidden meanings. I would highly recommend checking those videos out if you care at all just what goes through her mind and just what happens in her life. I recommend this game, obviously, to those who are fans of the genre and just like stories that don't have any concrete answers. Darkwood is amazing. I'm just going to say it right there. The plot, in a very short summary, is that there was a plague that broke out within this place called Darkwood, and a lot of people got deformed over it. A lot of people died. A lot of people went crazy over it. There is this white substance called the Being, which runs throughout the entire forest of Darkwood. This substance can take forms of replicas, which are also known as just imperfect versions of people or things that once existed. Most of the people or things that you talk to in this game are replicas. This is a great game to play if you want pure ambience, no jump scares at all. This game is survival horror. The imagery is very grotesque and brutal, and the characters and enemies that you see are very contorted and misshapen. And anybody that isn't a replica is just not happy with the circumstances that they're living in, and they look like total shit. This game follows the nighttime equals danger routine. Staying within a shelter and upgrading it over time with materials you get from exploring will help you survive. There are many choices littered throughout this game, many of which might include you having to kill somebody that you once met, or ranging to just ruining somebody else's life or time. This game bleeds the concept of the word unsettling. The objective, quite frankly, is to just escape the woods, escape Darkwood. But it's not as easy as it sounds, obviously. You find direction by speaking to NPCs. They range from a lot of different caricatures, such as the Wolfman or even the Snail. Characters like the Wolfman are pretty sinister, and in my playthrough, I ended up murdering him. Most of the characters or NPCs that you meet are just trying to survive like you do and give you direction in the game on where to go. The energy is very slow burn until it's not. You can go from feeling safe to being instantly in danger on a dime. There is a Steam community page describing everything lore-wise in Darkwood and the atrocities it holds. I'll be sure to link that in the description for you. The very first clip I showed you depicted a character killing his own dog who was sick. But I guarantee you that's the least sad thing you're going to witness in this game. The cone of light and small circle of light emitting from your character is one of the main things that helps you see enemies. Everything outside of that is, well, you're not going to know it's there until you turn in that direction. This game is really good at making you feel paranoid, and the ambient noises of branches cracking and leaves rustling does not help either. This is definitely an indie title that has been talked about a lot, but I feel as if it has still flown under some people's radars. This is a game that I would definitely recommend, as it does not pull any cheap jump scares on you. It is purely just sound, environment, and grotesque imagery. There is more than one ending to this game, and depending on the choices you make will determine what ending you get. You never feel alone in this game, even if you kill like 5 enemies and run back to your house for safety. All in all, a game I'm very glad I got in my library, and I hope you get it too.